Thanks so much for joining me, former Prime Minister. In terms of where things stand at the moment, this latest attack aside, there's been a bit of a pause. What's your assessment of the state of the war and the time frame from here?
I think Mr. Putin continued to producing some kind of victories to report to people of Russia, which is under majority of them under foolish propaganda, and they absolutely lost the reality. And in fact, I think the enlarged occupation of the territory of Donbass, which I think Mr. Putin is the prime goal is, and then of course to keep this land corridor which Mr. Putin already created between Crimea and Donbass, and the city of Kherson and part of Kherson region that's already under Putin's occupation. I think that would be some kind of middle goal for Mr. Putin to achieve and to announce victory. He needs victory, and he needs to report to people of Russia that the operation, as he said, just completed and they achieved something. And he believes that the West would face with the political fatigue. And that would, the situation as it is now, I mean, just the level or territory of occupation would stay for a few years. And after that, just Mr. Putin will continue to have his aggression on other or the same direction. That will be future.
In terms of, as you mentioned there, his commitment is one thing. What about the time he has to maintain that commitment domestically? Is he under pressure in any way, shape or form or not?
I think yes. This coming autumn, that will be the point when I would say some kind of new questions and people's mind would appear on ordinary people, and they will start asking this question, and propaganda will not be able to provide appropriate answers. Mr. Putin needs victory. He needs to report victory. He needs to be seen strong. Not defeated, but strong as with the victorious result. And of course, just those supplies of heavy weapons to Ukraine and this, I would say, on large-scale operations by Ukrainian army using this new equipment, of course, demonstrates that Ukrainian army could come soon, I believe, to the level comparable, I mean, from the military point of view, comparable with the Putin's army. That will be, I would say, the turning point. I think that what could come after the training of Ukrainian militaries, it could come, such a situation could appear just in October, November, I guess.
One other thing that could come in October, November would be Russia cutting off gas supplies to Europe as the temperature drops. Do you expect him to employ that tactic, or almost quite the opposite? Is he fighting to keep that revenue stream coming in?
I think that's absolutely possible. In fact, I guess right now, Mr. Putin technologically is not prepared to cut the gas supply right now. But of course, this weapon he gets in his hands. And in fact, he couldn't stop just exploration of natural gas, but could prepare. That's why he's looking for another supplies to China, and that's what they're doing right now. But of course, this weapon exists, and the cash foreign exchange inflow out of selling of oil and gas, of course, is reducing. But Mr. Putin cannot use this because of the sanctions, and they accumulated on the accounts of the Gazprom bank, and there is no demand for foreign exchange in Russia because just all supplies of all export to Russia and all purchases of those goods just stopped. And that's why just the exchange rate of ruble is quite strange, and people don't understand what's happened. Why the currency ruble appreciated so heavily while inflation is high and GDP falls down. Just the economy is squeezing right now, but the currency is appreciated. That is the strange situation. In fact, central bank continues to apply some kind of market policy while just the government produces completely different. That's what they have to settle something just in terms of policy, whether they go in the same way or just accept the total isolation and create other instruments of keeping economy.
So, but I mean, let's explore that a little bit further. I mean, how much is the Russian economy suffering at the moment, even if there are some public signs like the currency that might suggest otherwise? Are things on a breaking point? Is Putin about to face riots, or is that still some way away?
I think there is no expectation for riots in the upcoming future and the foreseeable future. But of course, in the future in general, of course, it could be the case. But in fact, just inflation is high. 20% just as an international methodology, but for this overall inflation. But if you pick up just 4 points for goods and services, for instance, medicine, foodstuff, communal services, and transportation, you will get inflation like 50%. That is half of population or even more just have their expenditure only on these directions. For them, inflation is very, very high. That's why I'm saying by autumn, just the negativism or a negative attitude to the whole situation will increase. That's why Putin needs victory to report that he already achieved something. And the West already just faced with the political fatigue and is not going to provide more and more billions to Ukraine to keep this war for exhausting. That's why I think just that will be expectation. Just I hope and I feel this coming autumn would change the whole situation because of different reasons. The sanctions, 6 packages of sanctions would bring a first negative result, and of course, economists will report that GDP will lost 10% of GDP, and inflation is very high. And secondly, just Ukrainian army would start having just more successful operations on the battlefield.
In terms of the nuances of Russian politics in the short term, talk us through the significance of what's gone on recently, that even though Parliament was in recess, President Putin's called for a special session. What's going on there?
The special session is nothing, I would say, nothing special. Special session just to finalize just the spring session, I think, just and to adopt those laws which they started to consider. But in fact, if something extraordinary is necessary for Mr. Putin, he will call them immediately. But I don't think just lower house with Duma, it's important for him on this operation. He needs permission from the upper chamber, but he already got all permissions for this war. And that's why he doesn't need anything. Just I don't think that Mr. Putin's prepared some kind of just statement for mobilization for army, for instance. I completely exclude this because it will be demonstration of his weakness. That means just his military operation, as he calls this. It means unsuccessful. That's he calling for the whole war, full-scale war, which he just doesn't want to announce as a war. But that's what I'm saying. Just they already facing with the problems to mobilize, have mobilization of on a voluntary basis. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, former Prime Minister. Just to round things off, because we're nearly out of time, just wondering how you think all of this ends, particularly on your side, on the Russian side, and for President Putin. And a reminder, of course, to our viewers that you served as his Prime Minister, though early in his term, 2000 to 2004, and have since taken a position against him.
Yes, I served with Putin, who was completely different Putin. At that time, Putin was supporter of reforms of my cabinet. Right now, Putin just pursues a contrary policy, absolutely contrary to all those values just I devoted to. And that's the end. We all believe that Ukraine would defend and would announce victory soon, in a few months, I hope, that they defended their territory and would start liberalization and would install their territorial integrity. And Putin should be seen as defeated. In this case, just the political changes will start in Russia, and inner circle would start reconsidering what you do to him. And those people who support Putin now, they would start reconsidering the whole attitude to the war, first of all, and secondly to Putin himself, and they will start calling for changes. I hope that process will start in a few months. Of course, it will not be overnight, but the beginning could bring a fruit, the desirable fruit, and I would say 1 year or year and a half. I think just changes in Russia are inevitable as soon as Putin is defeated in Ukraine.
So it's possible that Vladimir Putin, in some way or another, is out of office in Russia within 12 months?
I don't exclude this. Yes, I don't exclude. It's absolutely is direct connection with the results of this war with Ukraine. If Ukraine wins or just protect itself, it means just it's the beginning of the end of Putin's era.